Delight Your Marriage, episode 21.
Welcome to the Delight Your Marriage podcast, the show where you hear from amazing and inspiring wives sharing their struggles, triumphs, and advice for this journey called marriage. Here's your host, Belah Rose.
Hey there, this is Belah, and I want to just thank you so much for joining me today. Wherever you are, whether you're in the car or you're picking up your kids or you're heading to the gym or you're finishing up tasks at work, I just so appreciate that you let me and my guests into your ears every week, twice a week. It is just such an honor. And I have a great episode for you today, and I think it's going to bless you and your life. I'm with Dr. Joel Kahn, who is a cardiologist, well-renowned in the field. He has got several books out that he's going to talk about more, but he gives just some practical, actionable advice that you can implement today. And I have been in the last weeks since I interviewed him, and it has been so helpful. I'm not kidding you. So he's got a lot to say about blood and heart health. And honestly, that's what we're doing when we're, dealing with sexual health. It's all about the blood. If you haven't also listened to episode 20, that's where I give my story of my struggle with an eating disorder my entire life and how that affects my love life, my marriage. Hopefully it'll give you some hope if you're dealing with something at all similar. Lastly, at the end of the episode, after the music, I'm going to tell you what's happening next week, so stick around for that. Would you go ahead and introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your background, if you would?
Sure, briefly, but I'm a Michigander and went to University of Michigan Medical School. I worked darn hard and I graduated number one from that, but that's so long ago.
Wow.
There were horse and buggies, it feels like. And I've been practicing cardiology largely in Michigan for a little over 25 years. And have kind of moved towards a more integrative, holistic approach and speak on that, make online courses on that, and now have a couple books out. Not shocking, but still unusual in medicine, that looking at the patient as a whole being that includes their family relations, their nutrition, their sleep, their job, their stress, is the best way to get to identifying and hopefully preventing heart disease.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'm really excited to dive in, and I wonder if you would be willing to share a quote or some kind of encouragement that kind of has meant a lot to you over the years.
It goes all the way back to Hippocrates 2,500 years ago, where with vision, nobody could have understood, where he said that food is medicine and medicine is food. He also said the source of all health is in the gut. And those two statements, the current knowledge, sometimes called nutrigenomics, that you can impact what mom and dad gave you in terms of genetic material. You might be proud of it. You might say that's baggage they gave you, but whatever it is, you can't change your eye color or your hair color, but you can drastically change what your genes are doing in a very short time by embracing a lifestyle that is not expensive, is not difficult to understand. It's just we're beasts that don't like to change our habits. So I give Hippocrates lots of vision and credit for pointing out what we're learning now is just crucial.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, so many years ago.
Yes.
Cool. Well, our topic is really on sexual health and wellness for the wife, but also how she can impact and encourage her husband in that way too. So I'd love to jump into to hear your thoughts on thinking about sexual health, what you think are the biggest things that a wife should consider for herself.
Sure. And a little sciencey answer, but it's really all about, or largely about, a layer of cells in our body that do not get the shout out they ought to get, whether for general heart health, sexual responsiveness, brain health, and that's called your endothelium. Every artery in your body. Every artery is supplying the blood, the nutrition, the vitamins, the antioxidants that make your skin nice and rosy and glowing, and that make you hot and heavy in bed, and everything that you want to happen. You need arteries that carry that all, and they have this miraculous single layer of cells, a lot just like a layer of wallpaper on a wall, And maybe 25, 30 years ago, we thought that endothelium was just a barrier, the blood inside the artery and the wall of the artery on the other side. But now we know that those cells, those thin, paper thin cells, endothelial cells, they make a ton of chemicals. And your lifestyle influences whether they make healthy chemicals that keep those arteries clean and open. Every sexual response is a lot of blood flow shifting to areas that are being stimulated, whether it's, without being too direct, a nipple becoming erect or other sexual organs becoming erect. It's all blood, baby. So endothelium and exercise is one of the healthy lifestyle habits that keeps your endothelium. It's actually interesting. It's called hormesis, and I doubt anybody's heard that word or very often, HORMESS. But what doesn't kill you makes you stronger isn't just a song. When you exercise, you're pounding your endothelium with a little stronger blood flow, a little higher blood pressure, a little more increased wave of energy up against the wall of the artery. But as soon as that exercise is over, the artery responds and increases its ability to be resilient and full of vitamins and antioxidants. So exercise is a key component. On the other hand, we have learned that exercise doesn't mean it has to be a marathon, triathlon, Ultraman kind of event. Standing beats the crap out of sitting, and it's free and easy. And 5, 10, 15 minutes a day, phone calls, everything else are just crucial. Walking is the core exercise. It's going to get you to age 80, 90, or 100 without injury. And then, of course, anything you want to add on, you should throw some weights in without hurting yourself. You should, get some flexibility in the yoga room and blood flow from the heat. Heat's a wonderful healer of that endothelium. Sauna has actually been shown in human studies to make your endothelium stronger and more functioning. So grabbing a sauna, the hot yoga room, all those things. Yeah, it's an important component. Bodies were made to move. Sexually active people are, in better shape, have better cardiovascular capacity and resilience. So it's all good. That's just a key way to up your sex life is, you can specifically focus on core strengthening and Kegel exercises and really go for the money. But general cardiovascular fitness, general endothelial health is also key.
I just love, you mentioned the standing, the walking, the weights. It's funny that you mentioned standing because I just recently created a standing desk. So I'm standing right now and I didn't know the health benefits. I just knew it was better for my neck. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. You burn, I'll just real quick, because it's such a hot topic. You burn 3 to 5 times more calories standing than sitting. Now, it's not a ton, but if you make it a habit during your day, 7 days a week, it actually adds up to the difference between thin people and heavy people seems more to be due to little activities like movement and standing than gigantic extra quantities of calories eaten. And they're both a concern. So standing is really an amazing thing. Plus, it lowers your blood sugar, lowers your cholesterol. We've underappreciated what happens to the human body when it gets up.
Okay, wow, that's really great. So I do want to shift gears to think more about the husband because, the heart is directly related to sexual response in him.
Yes, and hopefully every listener knows, but I'll repeat it because it's so key that it remains in 2015, the number one killer in America remains heart disease. Women over 30, men over 30, number one killer is heart disease, nothing else. Every cancer combined still kills less people a year than heart disease. And, tragically, I've got patients 32 years old, women that have had heart attacks, and 35 years old. Sure, it's unusual, but these weren't necessarily people mainlining drugs or smoking 3 packs a day. So we live in a society where there's more environmental toxins and stress and poor sleep, and it's happening. So you got to take whatever clue there is. And one of them in the male that's been found supported by science is the difficulty or inability to maintain an erection is a blood flow event. That's completely that endothelium responding to some mental stimuli and physical stimuli. And those problems in the bedroom or wherever can be a clue. 3-4 years before chest pain or a heart attack actually comes on. And it's a great
Wow.
gift. It's a great gift to a man if a woman points out, you don't have to feel bad. You're having some issues, but I also read, I heard, I understand that maybe we should get this checked out. It may not be all work stress. It may not be sleep stress. Maybe there's really the beginnings of a high blood sugar nobody knew about, a high cholesterol nobody checked for a while, a high blood pressure nobody checked for a while, or
Right.
certainly a garbagey diet or lack of exercise. I mean, all those lifestyle
Mm.
things can be corrected and sexual fulfillment can be enhanced. Plus, there may be heart disease that can be picked up years before it would have been identified. Now,
Interesting. Well, can I just kind of restate what you said? So, if a man is not able to actually have an erection or say sustain erection, be involved,
yes,
or just the getting it.
right. It's a whole spectrum, and it could be
Okay.
anywhere in that spectrum. And
Wow.
I don't have exactly in my fingertips the data how often that happens in apparently healthy people, but if it's a repeated problem and it doesn't seem to be a relationship problem, then it should be looked into. At a minimum,
Mhm.
like I say, blood pressure, blood work, and an evaluation of overall lifestyle.
So, what are some other things that she can look for? So, we've got maybe lack of erection continually and maybe some other things. What else can she look for to see something to look into?
Well, another assistance both ways, either spouse, is increasingly the problem of sleep apnea. And
Mm,
snoring isn't always innocent and it isn't always dangerous, but
yeah.
significant snoring that keeps a partner awake, certainly not breathing well at night where you stop breathing or you wake up suddenly repeatedly are all clues to a potentially serious sleep problem and should be looked into and often associated with being overweight, but not always. So that's another little tidbit there. But, the traditional ones are fatigue, shortness of breath that didn't exist before. Somebody comes in from taking the garbage out and they're huffing and puffing. It's worth looking into. The classic one is tightness in the chest. We call it angina pain, squeezing pressure or even a heartburn feeling as somebody again takes the garbage out or climbs some stairs and I got some heartburn. Never, there's a statement there, DDD, denial, delay, and death. Deny that it could be heart, delay evaluation, and you get the last
Yeah.
D there. So always urge people, but I'm all about preventing. There's very
Yes.
clear data that 85 to 90% of heart disease can be completely prevented by fairly simple lifestyle, which will not only prolong your life and enhance the quality of your life, it's going to prolong and enhance the quality of your sexual interactions and hopefully your marital
Awesome.
enjoyment too.
Absolutely. No, I love that. Now, can we talk about that a little bit, maybe step by step? So you said 80 to 90, 85 to 90% of heart disease, which is the number one killer, can be prevented.
That's right. And that also, I'll extend that into adult diabetes.
Wow.
These are the actual statistics. There's several very large groups of apparently healthy Americans that have been studied in detail. One is called the Nurses Health Study, 45,000 nurses in America. The Physicians Health Study, I think it's about 90,000
Wow.
physicians. Anyways, they've been tracked for years. And at the beginning, none of them had diabetes or heart disease and such. And they looked at multiple predictors. And the bottom line is if you do about 6 core activities, now that they assessed 100 different data points, ran them through the computer and said 20 years later, these women had diabetes, these people had heart attacks or strokes, and what predicted it. And it's about 6 simple things you can do to avoid all those very serious problems. And first one will surprise nobody, but it's key to always mention is don't smoke. And
Wow.
smokers are more prone to strokes and heart attacks and early death.
So before I might want to ask you about each one of these. Okay, so number one, don't smoke. Now, if these this can lead to heart attack, can it also lead to erectile issues?
Absolutely. Sexual
Wow.
dysfunction, both men and women, absolutely. That
Wow.
endothelium gets damaged by smoking. It gets damaged short term. So within 20, 30 minutes, if you measure in a lab, you can see that the health of arteries goes down by smoking. And
Wow.
fortunately, we have the ability to repair these systems in our bodies.
Yeah.
So quitting smoking will allow the endothelium to improve. And without doubt, we've seen men that recover their sexual performance by quitting smoking. It's just
Wow.
a giant toxic load that's dumped into the blood and injures arteries, and then those arteries can't dilate, can't expand. All
Oh, there
that
you go.
is absolutely medically true.
Wow. That is really interesting. I was going to say so often high schoolers and young people just think they look cool smoking, and then the truth is it's just,
Yeah.
wreaking havoc on the area that should be most fulfilling to them. That's incredible. So go ahead to number 2, please. That's awesome.
Number 2 was the fitness thing in these studies. If you don't want to get diabetes, if you don't want to have a heart attack during your life, and in these studies, fitness was defined as walking 30 to 40 minutes a day. That was the bottom line. I love these high intensity interval training programs where if your schedule's tough, you can still get in 15 minutes a great sweat and a very high heart rate by going hard at it for half a minute, off for 20, hard for half a minute. But anyways, in those studies, it's a pretty simple activity. And, science also says you're going to walk 40 minutes a day, and a pedometer is always a good way to track your progress on your smartphone or a clip-on pedometer. You can do it 20 minutes at a time. You can do it 15 minutes here and 10 minutes there. So that car further away from the building does make a difference. 1 or 2 flights of stairs does make a difference. Get up and move and walk at lunchtime, and you've done yourself a big favor. So that's number 2. Same reason, it'll heal your endothelium. Your endothelium will give you much pleasure.
Awesome. So good. Okay. I think we're ready for number 3.
Number 3 is the general idea of keeping trim. And trim is a very liberal definition in these studies. It's most important if you want to prevent diabetes. And I mentioned it quickly before, but diabetes and sexual impairment and sexual dysfunction is tightly linked. Diabetes is one of the most potent ways to damage those blood vessels and arteries. So you really want to avoid becoming a diabetic. We've got 30 million diabetics that are adults in America, and it's predicted it's going to go up to about 100 million by the next 25 years because of our increasingly bad diet and sedentary lifestyles. And diabetes shortens your life. Diabetes shortens the quality of your life, including the sexual quality. So anyways, that's a waist under 40 inches for a man and under 35 inches for a woman. The people that maintain that slightly trimmer waistline did not have the frequency of heart attacks, diabetes, or actually even cancer. There's a strong connection between obesity and some of the more glandular cancers like prostate and breast cancer. So, it's not a huge goal, under 35 for a woman, under 40 for a man, but very important goal to keep an eye on. Don't let your pant size creep up every year or two and think nothing of it in terms of the health implications.
And I'm trying to just imagine what that is for a female waist size. You said 35 inches, under 35 inches?
Right.
That's something like a 12 size pants, So it is a pretty good barometer of thinking about, okay, so I'm a little bit higher than this, let me get under it. So that's really good to hear. I mean, that is what we're talking about here, dear wife. We're talking about getting you healthy to the point where you can enjoy sex with your husband in the best possible way, what you really deserve as a wife, and enjoy this with your husband. So, prioritize this. This is what Dr. Kahn is talking about. So I love that. Okay, please continue. That's awesome.
Only 3 more. One is a little surprising in the data, but it is to get sleep. And the average number in these studies is that if you can focus and get 7 hours sleep a night on average, you have a dramatically lower risk of heart attack and even diabetes than always saying, well, I only need 4 hours, 5 hours, or I can only get 4 hours or 5 hours. Sleep is a time of restoration. Sleep is a time when you build back up those vitamin levels, antioxidant levels. You repair that endothelium so your blood vessels are ready to give you a good, strong sexual response. And you can't shortcut it. You can't get as much of that repair done in 4 hours as you're going to get in 7 to 8 hours. So, certainly in the postmenopausal women range, women so frequently start to suffer poor sleep as they go through change in life. But, it's all the technology and being wired in that many young people are getting far less than 7 hours sleep a night. So don't underestimate the power of the pillow.
Yeah. And I just want to mention on that is What's been really helping me, and I've had different sleep struggles here and there, but having a night routine where I've got my stuff set up, where I've got house semi-organized, and just I spend that last half hour before I go to sleep journaling, praying, doing some things that are really going to help me sleep and just kind of detox, wire down. The other thing that's super helpful, which we talked about before, but have sex before you go to sleep. That's orgasms really beget sleep really well. So keep that in mind.
I think everybody's seen a man that's nodded off and snoring about 10 minutes after, and there's an enormous release of prolactin and oxytocin after sex and after orgasm, and they both are very sleep-promoting hormones. So absolutely.
Awesome. And for females too, do you know?
Yeah, it's absolutely released. I don't think the stereotype of necessarily a woman falling asleep and snoring away 10 minutes later is quite as quite as strong, and therefore maybe it isn't quite as true. But there clearly are very beneficial, healthy hormone released into the blood, like oxytocin and prolactin, that will help you sleep, even melatonin.
Yep. So true.
And then, so moving
awesome.
down that list, heart attack-free lives through healthy lifestyle. The next one is the one nobody does, and that is 5 to 6 servings of vegetables and fruit a day, on average, every day. We've got 15 to 20% of the population that smokes. On average, about 1 or 2% of Americans eat 5 to 6 servings of vegetables and fruit a day every day. 1 to 2%. So that's where we've got tremendous ability to up our health by every bowl of oatmeal having berries on top, every sandwich having lettuce and tomato, every dinner having a big, salad and a steaming heap of broccoli or cauliflower, every soup having green vegetables in it, over everywhere, smoothies in the morning with spinach, kale, arugula, whatever we can do, even juicing or smoothies that have a lot of leafy greens. So, that's strong data, of 100 data points in many studies, servings of fruits and vegetables a day comes up near the top as the most predictive of maintaining your health. Plus, when we're talking about sexual responsiveness, there are certain foods that are packed with additional nutrients. And one is watermelon. Watermelon, yellow more than red, and the rind even more than the meat, is very rich in something called citrulline. Citrulline makes antioxidants and vasodilators that make that endothelium, make your sexual response healthy. Pine nuts, arugula, green leafies, they're the healthy end of the spectrum. Cacao, maca powder, a root from South America, are all wonderful additions to a daily routine of health.
That's really funny, Dr. Kahn. I can't wait to tell my husband about the watermelon, because that is, bar none, his absolute favorite thing. And in the summers, we buy watermelons like every single day, and I can't wait to tell him why. That's so good.
Watch out, because he'll have greater ability to be there when he wants to. And it, again, almost undoubtedly works for women too, but just hasn't been measured as easily. And then
that's
the
awesome.
very last one is the toughest one in the database, which is, again, you've got these databases of 100,000 people, freedom from heart attack, freedom from diabetes, freedom from cancer, and a small amount of alcoholic beverage on a regular basis comes up consistently in all these studies as a preventive measure. So, that's the one where we're very cautious. If a person's ever had problems with their liver or alcoholism or DUIs, or they choose not to drink, God knows, ignore all these comments. But if a person can handle, a little bit of alcohol, don't have to feel too guilty if you're well controlled and occasionally having a drink, whether it's red wine, which may be the ultimate, or even other hard liquor, but no more than about one a day.
Okay, that's good to hear. Yeah, no more than that. It's not that you need to be drunk every day. That's not what you're suggesting. It's a single drink.
Go crazy on the green leafies or the brightly colored rainbow fruits and vegetables, but be very limited in your use of alcohol, but guilt-free if you're capable and responsible.
Okay, cool. So when you think about how a wife can kind of support her husband in these things, aside from what you can do, dear wife, is you can let him listen to this podcast and Dr. Kahn's great advice. But what do you think? How can she kind of support him in being a little bit more healthy?
I think getting up, and I don't want to make this sound too traditional like a Betty Crocker commercial, but number
Sure.
one, having some equipment at home, having a juicer, having a blender, having one of those little bullets, perhaps, that allows,
Yes.
even if both are running out of the house early in the morning to jobs or school, drop off, whatever, but having the ability to have the equipment and having a nice maca powder, cacao powder, some of these nice green powders you can buy at the major chains that you can add with some frozen blueberries and a handful of spinach or arugula and make that quick early morning smoothie and have that all available and easier.
Yeah.
Again, the traditional family model's broken down a bit, but having 2 trips a week to the grocery store to fill back up on produce. So the snack might be an apple and orange or grapes rather than cookies and cakes and donuts. Not even buying that stuff and just keeping it out of the house. Making little packets of snacks for a briefcase or work of walnuts and a bit of dried fruit. You want to be a little cautious in the dried fruit, but a little bit's always going to beat what you're going to find in a vending machine. And consistently, people that eat quantities of nuts and seeds actually have better health. There's, like I mentioned, pine nuts and probably other of the tree nuts are fairly rich, again, going back to artery health and sexual health. Nuts can be a very good way to maintain your artery health. So good strategy there as a little snack. And then, what I have a personal mission and a personal passion about is, and let's go back to that example, 44 or 45-year-old man, the wife notices for the past couple of months that maintaining erections and all are getting difficult and the relationship's good and there's not excessive alcohol. That guy needs to be checked, and he needs a very accurate way of knowing if that's a clue to bad artery health at an age that the next event could be a heart attack, sadly, even fatal. And there is a test available in every city in this country, but very rarely used by family docs, internists, and even cardiologists, called a coronary artery calcium CAT scan, coronary artery calcium CAT scan, CT scan. It's a test that takes about 30 seconds. A man or a woman just lies down in the CAT scanner, holds your breath, and it's done. And you can see the heart arteries. It's the only test where you actually can see heart arteries, the place where plaque builds up for years before there's a heart attack, at least for months before there's a heart attack. And if there's no problem, there's no problem. If there's a problem, you're getting on the road of healing and reversing it years before that, scary event. That test is rarely covered by insurance because we have a crazy medical world. Might be a couple $100, but you may do your man the biggest gift in the world to get him to the local hospital, go in for 10 minutes to get a coronary artery calcium scan. If it comes back 0, it's great news.
Yeah.
If it comes back 200, 300, 500, 600, there's early heart disease and there needs to be some specialists involved. So that's my plea, because heart disease, we can stop all these heart attacks. And there's a lot of really vital, wonderful people, men and women both, that have been cut down mid-career, midlife.
Yeah.
It just doesn't need to happen. And so, the bedroom can be the first clue.
Yes. Oh, that's so good. That's just so good to just to think about, the marriage relationship of this intimate, wonderful union. If one is having health problems, we're talking about health problems. This is not some embarrassment issue. You need to be taking these things seriously and trying to brainstorm and figure this out. So I just encourage you, if this is being alarms in your head, go for it. A couple $100 is worth just in case. I just love that, Dr. Kahn. That's brilliant. Thank you. Now, I want to ask you about, you were talking about the fruits and vegetables. Something I struggle with really is, I know organic is better. I know it. But if I are tight on budget or this, I'm thinking about people that are really trying to lessen their spending. If they're not able to get to specifically organic fruits and vegetables, is it worth it to get the non-organic?
Yeah, it is. And it is an issue. I prefer to buy organic in the house. I read this recently that conventional produce can have as much as 90 times the pesticides of a organic produce. So it isn't like it's just a small difference. It could be huge. So one resource that your listeners may know about is the Environmental Working Group, or it's a website that's ewg.org. And they're a non-for-profit consumer protection group. They publish that 2 lists every year called the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen. The 12 commonly purchased produce items that are the most heavily pesticide treated, like apples and celery, and 15 that we buy that aren't so heavily pesticide treated, like a watermelon. And so you can use that list to limit your organic purchases to those that were maybe the most important. They even have a smartphone app. So when you're in the produce department and you don't remember which are the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen, and that's EWG, environmentalworkinggroup.org. Great group. The other fact is, the conventional produce still beats the heck out of even organic animal products, in my perspective of the medical literature, in terms of saturated fat, fiber, vitamins, antioxidants, nutrients, minerals. Even if you can't buy any organic produce, don't hold back. Get your leafy greens, do your smoothies, make your juices, because you're still getting a far better source of nutrition if that's what the budget permits.
Okay.
Because the main source, people are aware of genetically modified items, and some people won't eat soy because the word's out that most soy is genetically modified. Well, it turns out the genetically modified soy is being fed to beef cattle and dairy cattle and chickens and turkeys. And when you're going to the grocery store and buying meat, that's been an animal largely fed by genetically modified corn and genetically modified soy. You go to your local grocery store, most soy-based products have the organic label from the USDA on it. Human consumption of soy is usually a better quality source. So the biggest concern remains we eat too many animals. And whether you're into the environment and animal rights or not, we eat more. We eat 5 times as much cheese as we used to. We eat, actually something exciting is going on. We used to eat about 140 pounds of beef a year in this country. It went all the way up to about 210 about a decade ago. It's actually falling, and it's fallen below 200 pounds. So there's a recognition in the public, and that's, and on average, every human in the United States, every adult. So these are big trends when it's 10 to 20 pounds of beef a year less than it was 10 years ago. Consumers are understanding that whether you choose to completely forego most animal products or whether you just cut back, they've all read enough to know that's probably a trend they should follow. And I certainly endorse that. I like to preach being a vegetabiliarian. You want to have a little animal around your vegetables, that's your choice. I'm a long-term plant eater, only for 30 years. I'm not preachy about it, but don't underestimate the power of the salad and the broccoli and the peas and the beans. It's huge.
Oh, that's so good to hear. Okay. Yeah. Just to have a little bit of meat around your vegetables. I mean, why not? Why not make a little shift like that here and there, that the main course is not the meat, the main course is the vegetables, right?
Well, that really is the Mediterranean style. That really is what's called the blue zone style, where, people are 90 to 100 years old and they're active and sexually active, and they can't afford a plate full of animal products and big steaks and such. So the garden provides a majority of their nutrition, and they've proven to have the healthiest lifespans in the world.
Wow. Well, there you go. You're absolutely right. Vegetables are cheaper than meat. So if we're talking about clipping in the budget, clip the meat and go for the organic. That's what you'd suggest, right?
Meat is in an all-time high right now. So very much what you said is the case. And with big companies like Kroger's, Walmart, and such getting more and more into organic produce, the price is coming down, clearly.
Yeah. What could you talk about in terms of sexual health that would kind of give them that extra push? Like if there's any other of the scientific things that normal people don't know, like endothelium, that would help them to say, this is better to make this choice.
Yeah, and it's just the general message that it goes back to what you asked me right at the beginning of the interview, and I mentioned Hippocrates, food is medicine, and the gut. All health begins in the gut. Two quotes from over 2,000 years ago. But we now completely have science. Some people call it epigenetics. But what you're going to do today, how much you stand, how much you walk, how much you breathe and kind of manage stress as opposed to getting stressed out, what you buy in the grocery store, what you put in the refrigerator, the pantry, the freezer, how many hours you get to sleep tonight. These things speak to your very genetic material very quickly and very powerfully. And the good news is your fork is your fate and your dinner plate is your destiny, and you can determine the health of your family more powerfully than we ever really appreciated, down to the very proteins your genes are going to make today, tomorrow, and for the next few months, based on your shopping cart and based on, spending a little time learning about this. I'd encourage anybody to watch. There's a video called Forks Over Knives, came out a couple years ago. Wonderful documentary that's been viewed by millions, but lays out the case scientifically about the impact of healthy eating. It's not an option. It's the only choice once you understand how powerful it is and once you understand how detrimental. For example, just the last piece, 30 to 60 minutes after eating an Egg McMuffin, that endothelium that we've been talking about, that artery wallpaper that determines your ability to have fulfilling sexual responsiveness or not, that endothelium is damaged within 30 to 60 minutes of eating an Egg McMuffin. And way too many school kids, but way too many adults start the day with that yellow bag through the window of the car on the way to work. And that's, again, a little more time to make an oatmeal, berry, walnut breakfast, or to have a smoothie prepared full of greens and berries and nuts and seeds and maca powder and such. I mean, little changes can really restore health powerfully for the future. So, taking time to buy a couple new cookbooks. I've got a book I'm proud of called The Whole Heart Solution that lays all this out, and that's only a few months old. So
I can imagine there's someone out there that's thinking, I'm just too far gone. I've lived this life for 20 years, 50 years. I just can't change who I am now. What would you say to her or him?
Yeah, that again is the magic of the science that we've learned, is that the body really has amazing restorative possibilities if you stop blocking its efforts by a lifestyle that we call the Western lifestyle, the American lifestyle, that tends to be, the opposite of what we should be doing. So that endothelium that we talked about is very active and it heals itself. One of the quickest tissues in our body is that endothelium in our arteries. Even bones turn over, but you don't turn over your bones completely in terms of their actual cellular composition about once every 7 years, but your endothelium within 2 to 3 weeks, and other organs about the same time frame. So you can get your arteries healthy. Patients of mine that are having chest pain and difficulties that grab onto a healthy lifestyle seriously can within 3 weeks show up with test results that are dramatically different, not due to a difference in medication, but due to a difference in how many hours of sleep, and they quit smoking and they're walking. And most importantly, their grocery cart is just full of brightly colored produce.
That's wonderful. Yeah, no, that's so good. Yeah. And so please do, I'd love to hear more about the book, and I'd like to hear about what someone can expect to learn and discover through it.
Yeah, if anybody wants to learn more about what I do, I have a website I keep up to date, which is drjoelkahn.com, but that's drjoelkahn.com, and lots of stuff there, lots of resources, videos for people. I have 2 books out. One came out September of 2014, and one came out about 3 weeks ago. One is The Whole Heart Solution. And then I have a new book called Dead Execs Don't Get Bonuses, How to Survive Your Heart, How to Survive Your Career with a Healthy Heart. Dead Execs Don't Get Bonuses. And both of them are pretty much manuals to avoid heart trouble, to improve your health, to improve your sexual health. And they're pretty clear cut. And then I have lots of fun on Facebook as Dr. Joel Kahn. So I welcome anybody. I put out what I think are scientifically sound, incredible messages. I don't have much to sell, so It's not a pressure thing. I just really enjoy educating people about the power of lifestyle. It's huge.
Brilliant. And I'm so grateful that you're doing this really important work. Any last parting pieces of advice that you'd like to give our listeners?
I love, just to wrap up, baby steps. So, just a couple last little tips. Spices.
Yes.
Sounds so silly from a cardiologist trained at universities, but spices and herbs are dried plants. And a lot of people say, I don't want to eat vegetables. And I say, yeah, but I don't want to eat chemotherapy and bypass surgery, so eat your vegetables. But even if you're not willing to do that, get out the oregano and put it on your pizza like crazy. Get out the cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice, put it on your oatmeal. Get some rosemary, thyme, ginger, turmeric. Spices are dried plants, and they're full of vitamins. Cayenne pepper. Cayenne pepper is awesome for artery health. So adding these in starting today, I prefer organic spices. I prefer spices that haven't been sitting in the cabinet for 12 years because they probably aren't very good anymore. You wouldn't have your salad bowl there for 12 years. So get some fresh spices and use them, and spice up your life, spice up your sex life. That would be one. Number two would be, as trite as it is, eat an apple a day. I mean, anybody can do that. And it really is a good habit. We are so deficient in fiber, and that gets to Hippocrates about the source of health is in the gut. Get more fiber in your life. An apple a day. And the last one I want people to consider is try some of these non-dairy milks. Get out there and find if you can enjoy some coconut milk, dairy milk, almond milk, hemp milk, soy milk, rice milk, oat milk, and give Elsie the cow a break. Try that. A lot of people will find that they feel better. Their stomach settles down. Some rash, acne, eczema improves. There's so many undiagnosed dairy allergies out there. And those three little steps are just a great place to start.
Oh, that's just fantastic, Dr. Kahn. All of the resources you mentioned, including some of the more difficult words, I'll look them up and get the right spelling, but it'll all be in the show notes, as well as the links to these great books. Thank you so much, Doctor. It's just been incredible, and I'm very excited to get more fruits and veggies and the other tips that you gave. Thanks so much.
Have a wonderful and healthy day.
Right. Doesn't that just get you so excited to get to the grocery store and fill it up with brightly colored fruits and veggies? I tell you what, I have done a lot more of that since I interviewed with Dr. Kahn, and I'm telling you, it has really helped. I just feel more energetic, and I feel just a general better sense of well-being. So really great. Also, my husband and I joke a lot nowadays about our endothelium. I'm going to take a hot shower, honey, because, I'm feeding my endothelium. So thanks, Dr. Kahn, for that. What an awesome interview. I just encourage you to really take what he says seriously and implement it little by little, but do implement it. Also, I've been standing at my desk quite a bit, and, just have comfortable shoes. You'll be all set. No problem. Well, thanks again for spending time with me and Dr. Kahn today. I am really thrilled about what's happening next week, and otherwise I'll chat with you after the music for that. But God bless you. I love you. And we'll talk soon.
Thanks for listening. Stop by delightyourmarriage.com to check out all the show notes, as well as many more resources and articles. Until next time, live with love, wisdom, and passion.
All right, so next Tuesday and Thursday, I have an amazing guest who used to be a prostitute for many years, and she gives her story of abuse and really some sad realities in our world today, but she also gives incredible hope. Honestly, she teaches us how to love way more than you might ever have imagined. Plus, a week from this Saturday is actually my second webinar. It's a new name, but similar content, How to Love Him Most. And I really go into some spicy stuff. It's for wives only, but I dig into the Bible, what it talks about, and the green light it gives us on so many things you might be surprised about. And I just love to have you. I've gotten some great feedback so far. Some women that have talked to me and told me literally the very next day their intimacy was different. So praise God for that. But I would love to have you there. Sign up for it at delightyourmarriage.com/webinar. And when you sign, you'll actually get my 4 stages to his best penny, as I call it. So definitely check that out. And I'm excited to have you on that webinar. Again, it's April 25th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Sign up. Again, thank you. God bless you. I'm praying for you. And I love you so much. Bye.